Okay, so I have an idea, and I am painting on the back side of a different print. This was a caterpillar that I did on Nara paper, and I'd actually done an instructional video and then proceeded to lose it. So this particular piece, by the time I got done with it, I wasn't incredibly pleased with it, though there were different parts that I really like. So I'm going to work on this another time and see if I can do some changes. But I thought in the meantime, I could flip it over and use the back side for a particular style that I want to do, and make a wreath. And my thoughts on this are to use this frog painter's tape and use it to make a circle. Just lightly draw a circle with my pencil to give me the inside of the wreath. And so my inks that I'm going to use are going to go kind of across this line, but I want to keep a space here kind of clear, so I can, put in Merry Christmas or whatever, and maybe offer this as a free image from my Facebook page for those that follow and like my page. They can have this as a free download to use as a Christmas card or just as a background on their phone or whatever. So that was my thought. So I'm going to use these three colors, and I have not done this prior to, so I don't know if these colors will work together the way I want them to, but I'm going to give it a shot. I have a deep Everglade color by Ranger Ink. It tends to be a brighter green. The Mojito is also a brighter green, but it also is lighter than the Everglades. And then a moss green, which is lighter in tone, but has deeper colors that are good, I think, for shade and that kind of thing. So we'll see what we get. And then I have some reds that I'll share when I get to that point, for maybe putting in a ribbon or berries or something like that. I'm really not sure. So here we go. We'll try this. I'm going to be using these cards to scrape in the branches and the leaves of my wreath, and I'll show you my thoughts for doing that. We'll see how it proceeds. If not, we can always go back to a regular brush, but I want a more abstract kind of feel, though I may blow some of these out with a straw for more texture, but we'll see how it works. So my first thought is to put down the lighter of all these colors. So I'm going to start with the moss, and just kind of drop a puddle of it, and then taking my card, just kind of begin to go back and forth with this and letting it kind of bloom out in places with this card. So as you can see, you start to get lines and texture, and just keep doing that until the ink begins to actually dry. So I'm gonna put another drop on the opposite side and begin to do the same thing. So I'll just kind of move it back and forth until I get a kind of wreath shape. Okay. And as you can see, it's looking kind of, you know, not, what's the word I want? It's looking like a wreath, but not full of texture and dimension just yet. So we'll continue by putting another drop on this side, a little bit more ink. I don't worry too much about splatters. I like the effect that that gives. And as you can see here, moving it to meet the other side, and I just keep moving the ink. I'm kind of twisting my card back and forth just a little bit at a time. Doing the same thing on this side. Coming back in with my card and just getting that ink to move and take the shape of evergreen leaves and that kind of thing. So, and the more you move your card, the more you get these different striations and shapes in your wreath. I know this particular bottle does spray out a lot, so I don't tend to worry about it. Some people do. If you're that worried about how it looks with those drops and whatnot, you can always go and pour it into a cup. But I say go with it. You know, it adds to the piece and it makes it yours because no two drops are the same, right? So we're going to put a little bit more up here on this side and do the same thing. And just work it back and forth into where you already have laid ink. Just so you get that complete bottom layer, because this will be important when we come back in with the other colors. We're going to do less drops of ink and add dimension and layers so that we get these beautiful different shapes for our wreath, our final wreath. So moving to the next color, I'm going to do the Mojito by Ranger, and I really love this color. There's just something about it. It does kind of remind you of a mojito if you've ever had one. It does have this kind of a color to it when you make it. So remember, you can faintly see the line that I created using my tape. So I'm going to just put a little dab right here, and with my card, go in and do the same thing, making my lines just about the same, but not quite covering where I was at before. And you can put your card side to side, like so, lay it flat, just however you like working. I'm going to go over to this side and put another drop and begin to just kind of layer these beautiful textures into the piece. And these beautiful colors begin to blend with the colors underneath. And my line is somewhere around there. So again, coming in. I'm not adding any additional alcohol to my colors. So that is something to remember as you're working. I just love using alcohol inks because there's so many things that you can do with it. And then when you're done, if you want, you can add mixed media over the top. You can stamp on it. You can add, you know, glitter, or make little berries that you can cut out from, you know, any of your craft papers, and you can just do so many different things with ink. You can go over it with acrylic ink. You can go over it with just plain acrylics, which also has a nice bonus to it. You can go over it with jelly pens, with Posca markers. I even have these oil paint markers that I like to use on mine from time to time. They just add so much dimension to the work and make it so much more 3D, like realistic. So as you can see here, we're just working around. That'll wipe right off, which is amazing. If I were to give this a little spray and come in with my towel, it will wipe back. That's the amazing part of their ink, or their paper. There's a little yellow in this one, so it does tend to stay, but I'm not too worried about it. So we'll come in here and almost let that dry, and that would have been not so good. I would have had to figure out what I was going to do. So we got just a little bit more here I want to put in. So this kind of makes you think of, you know, an evergreen or a Fraser fir, or maybe hollies. You can do different, depending on how you angle this. You could very well come in and make leaf shapes. I just thought this was a pretty simple way to make a wreath without having to have too much skill and access to an excessive number of, you know, inks, because I know not everybody has all the inks. I don't even have all the inks. So anyway, this is looking really good. And we're going to use this one, the Everglades, and I'm probably going to use this one a little sparingly, because I am going to come back with the Mojito and again with the Moss, add in some colors where they just kind of pop in one or two places, just for some depth and shading. Okay, so now here's the Everglades, and we're just going to put a little drop. I guess we're going to put it right there since that's where it went. And we're going to come in with this card, and we're just going to start moving it and kind of giving more of a definition to our shapes. And how you do that is you just kind of press and wiggle using the edge, the outer edge. You just press and wiggle. So you see you start to get a little bit more definition. Go to the opposite side and make a drop, and then come in and press and lift and press and lift. I sound like I'm doing an exercise video. Okay, so you see how that kind of gives a leaf impression right there. Again, this is just an old card that was on an outfit that I bought my granddaughter, and I thought, oh, that's nice and bendy, and I can use it to go in and I can just play with the ink and move it around and create these wonderful impressions, because that's all we're doing with paint, is we're tricking the eye to give an impression of something that it's already familiar with in nature. So we'll go in and we'll add another drop, and we'll go back and we'll just kind of add those shapes that we talk about. So I'm just gonna kind of move it and, you know, just squiggle it, and it doesn't take much. Okay, so I'm gonna go to this side and do another one right about here, and just gonna kind of squiggle back and forth in the way that we want. Come in, slide, see? Okay, and do one here. Okay, and again. And if you have to move your paper, move your paper. Pardon the dog. He does not like having deliveries made to the house. Okay. Right, I'm going to do another one right here. And do one right here. Okay, so I feel like I've got some darks here and some here. I'm going to go back in with the Mojito and add some more in a few spots. I think I'm going to start right here and come in and just lightly, because I really love this color and how bright it makes things in the painting. That bright green, it's just really luscious. And so you can layer with inks. You just have to be mindful of how much ink you're putting down and how much you let it spread, and you know, the order that you do it. So now we can come in and we can start doing the favorite part, which is adding these textures that go back to the white of this particular paper. And we'll just come in and I'm going to switch to this card that came in the mail that really doesn't have anything on it. And I'm just going to put a little bit of ink along the edge of it, like so. Okay, and let it dry just a bit, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it like this, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to start just laying this color in just a few places, because what I want now is to add in a few little highlights with that ink using the card. And you can also come in and you can scratch using the ink. Wet what's on here with a little bit of alcohol, like so, and I'm just going to start kind of tapping. Now you can also do this with a, what do you call it? I always forget what they're called. A palette knife. So you can use a palette knife, and I'll try to grab one here from my stash. This old yucky one, but it works. And you can come in and you can just go in, and sometimes you have to give a little pressure, but you can see it's starting to do it. I personally like to just put a little alcohol on a micro brush, but I'm out currently and need to pick up a few more. So I'm going to go back to this section right here. I just don't like how that looks. I'm going to take my little card and I'm going to get in a little bit more of this green. And while it's still wet, I'm going to come in and add some lines, just like I did over there. So, okay, and I'm going to come and add in a little bit right there and do the same. And again, I'm going to come in with the corner and draw in some of those fun little lines through the paint that kind of give it the sense that there's ferns, or not ferns, but like pine needles or something. So again, do the same thing here a little bit. And just begin before it's completely dried. Okay. This just manages to give some depth. And I'm going to kind of do the same over here. I want just a little on the edge. I had put a little paint on the edge here. And you can go and do that all the way around if you wanted to. Just take a drop, not too much. Let some of that kind of dry a bit, and then come in and so I'm really liking how this looks. Just want to put a little bit of the Everglade in here again. Remember, this one's a little bit stronger than the others. You're going to get a much deeper, darker shape. So, okay, so there's that. And then if you want to do little berries or a bow, you can come in with a Posca pen or with a gel pen or with your inks. I really love to use my oil-based painter sticks that I have. These, they are by, they're Japanese inks, but they're oil-based, and they're by Pintar, P-I-N-T-A-R, Pintar, and they're just like a Posca pen, but they're oil-based, and so you give it a shake, just like you do with your Posca, and then you're going to make sure that your ink is at the tip, and then you can just come in right over the top without sealing or anything and put in your little berry, just like so. And you can do as much as you need. I'm just going to put 3 here just to kind of show you. And then you can go back over it and give it a highlight with your Posca pen. Make sure it has ink and give it a moment to dry. And then come back over and just give it a tap with your Posca pen. See? And let it dry. And you can do that all over, wherever, however many you want. And if you want to do a bow, you can do ribbon, whatever you'd like. Another thing to consider is putting a few splatters with a paintbrush and your with a paintbrush and or a toothbrush and your ink. I like to just put a little bit on my paintbrush, just tap it on, and then I need to add a little bit more so we can see. And just put it on the top of the bristles. Or you can put it on a toothbrush and flick. And I love using the toothbrush because I can control it a lot better, and I can get more just better control over how much I can get closer, far back, just whatever works. So, yes, I should be wearing gloves, but I did not put any on. And I should have. So, do as I say, not as I do, right? That's what we tell our kids. And I'm just going to flick in a different bit of color. And if you get too carried away, just wave over it a bit to keep it from spreading too far. Or use your hair dryer if you have it with you. Where I'm at, I don't. Another thing to do is you can use this mini mister. Let me try to get this here. This mini mister. I have one, and I have mixed in a little gold to my mini mister, and just giving it a little spray gets a little bit of sparkle and a bit of that kind of snowy look that you see like right in through here. So, let me know what you think, and if you like this video, give me a thumbs up and follow and subscribe for more notifications at the Artful Ink. Thank you. A couple extra things that I forgot to mention. Most people don't realize this, but you can actually use watercolor over the top of your inks, and certain ones work where others don't. This iridescent medium by Winsor Newton, can you see that? Works for adding in a little bit of sparkle on top of your alcohol ink. It's almost like glitter, so if you have it, this is an old bottle. I think I've had this for probably 20 years. So you can go in and you can just, you know, add it to different spots on your painting, just to, you know, add some fun and make it a little bit more holiday-ish, wintry, and it won't disturb the inks underneath, which make it nice, so that, you know, you're not ruining your work. But you can go in and just lightly tap it in or move it wherever you want, and it has a real nice effect. You can also go in with gouache, and this is also a Winsor & Newton designer gouache. It's permanent white, and you can add it to a bit of water, because you'll see it's pretty thick. So you just take a little bit and mix it with a bit of water, and let me show you that real fast. Brush and find my water. Okay, if you just get a little bit and mix it with your water, so it's kind of runny, but not terribly. I'm just mixing right onto my mat here, but you're going to come back in and you're going to tap, just like you did before. And you don't want big globs, and you don't want a lot. You just want enough to kind of give that frosted snow effect. And I don't know if you can see that very well in here. So those are my 2 extra tips for making this Christmas wreath.